now in year number 4. It's a Yank on the Footy with Craig Wessels. Let's all sit back and enjoy a chat about the greatest game on the face of the earth. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 287 of the Yank on the Footy. I'm Craig Wessels, coming from Sandusky, Ohio. Beautiful Sandusky, Ohio. Fall has arrived, and it's my favorite time of the year. We were at about 18 degrees Celsius today, and I'll tell you what, I could take that year-round, every single day of the year, and I'd be a happy camper. In just a moment, I'm going to be joined by my mate, Myk Aussie, and we are going to go through the games of the prelims as well as talk a little bit of cricket as well. There's a lot of interesting things going on with cricket right now, getting ready for the World Cup T50s. But don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, that if you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, I'm going to be starting my most memorable game episodes here very soon. And if you've got a game that you're never going to forget and you'd like to share it with the world, please reach out to me over on my socials at Yank_on on Twitter, on my website, yankonthefooty.com, by email, yankonthefooty@gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook as well. I'd love to sit down and talk to you about that game that you're never going to forget. Maybe it's one you played in. Maybe it's one you lost. Maybe it's the one that you still get to think about yourself as being the hero because you kicked that game-winning goal. And I'd love to hear that story, and I'd love to share that story. So if you got that and you want to tell me, I'd love to chat with you. Now, today's club of the episode are the Edmonton Wombats from AFL Canada. Now, the Wombats are a club that Myk Aussie has been involved with for a number of years. Myk is from the Edmonton area now. They've been living there for many years. And this Friday night, so tomorrow night, the club is going to be playing in their club grand final. And the EAFC, as they call themselves, the Edmonton AFL Canada, if you will, heroes, as they say, will battle it out for the converted prize of not being a loser. Who's going to win? Germans' Leg Day Bays or Springers ironically named Mutes? Kickoff is at 7 p.m. at Victoria Park on River Valley Road with light refreshments and barbecue provided by the club. They do recommend that you bring mosquito repellent. So if you decide that you don't want to go to the MCG or you don't want to go to the Adelaide Oval to catch the games there, hop on a plane and head over to Western Canada and check out some inter-squad action with Edmonton. So let's go ahead and jump into my chat with Myk Aussie, and we're going to break down the two games for this week. We're going to go through our 5 slang terms, and one of them, I'm just going to let you know right now, I'm banning it. You're not allowed to use it anymore. So you're going to have to stick around for that. So let's jump in with Myk. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am thrilled to be joined by my mate, Myk Aussie. Myk, how are you doing on this fantastic Thursday afternoon, sir?
Wow, what a week in football. I mean, I know you know how big Aussie rules football in the AFL is in Australia, but the trouble between Melbourne and Collingwood and the fans and media just going off and so emotional. That's one of the biggest stories that I think I've experienced in a long time. So big news, and we know the outcome, of course, with the hit onto Brayshaw by Maynard.
Yeah, it's, unfortunately, we're at a point in time where this is a contact sport, unfortunately, and I know that the league is trying to put themselves in cover their butt mode because of what's going to be coming through the pipeline later on with regards to injuries and things of that nature, and the long-term effects. And I somebody who I really respect, that I had on the podcast, Sean Smith, who's dealt with the after effect of many concussions and had the lawsuit against the league, posted on Twitter after the Maynard decision was handed down where he was cleared to play, and he basically just called the league out and just said it was fucking ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
And I respect him greatly because of what he has dealt with and what he's continuing to deal with as a result of that. So what's your take on it?
All right, I'll do it in 2 parts. So I'll just say a bit, then I'll go back to you, then I'll finish off. Because when I first saw it and started listening to, as you know, I listen to a lot of AFL podcasts.
Right.
And after I listened to a lot of people, initially I was torn. Like, I really didn't know whether it should be 3 games or he should be let off. But what changed my opinion was I got to agree with 2 people, and one of them is Glenn Quartermain for the podcast in Perth, one of the top football writers in Perth. He was very strong that it should be a suspension. And then Bernie Vince, the former Crows player and Melbourne Demon on Triple M Rush Hour in Adelaide,
Right.
he was a very tough player himself. And he said some things that started to change my mind, and then I took it a step further. So basically, Bernie Vince said that if it was at training, if it was someone you knew, you would have pulled out or changed your body motion. So what's your thoughts? And then I'll come back and finish off my final thought.
That makes sense, because, you would have, at practice, you would have pulled up, of course. But in a finals game, and again, this was not a cutthroat final because the loser was still going to go back and play the following week. These are men that have played this game their entire lives, and they've been raised in the game, where you're gonna put a good lick on a guy, and maybe you knock the wind out of him a little bit. It takes him a few seconds to catch his breath. I truly do not believe that there is, and I may be wrong about this, but I truly don't believe that there is a player in the game right now who goes in the games with the mindset, I want to injure my opponent. I don't think that is the case at all. I don't think that's the case.
I'll agree there.
Maybe there is, and you can correct me on that. But and again, you know more about it than I do. But I worry about the longevity of the game if the physical contact isn't allowed to continue. Now, you're in, he's in the air, and again, I would have to jump like 30 times to get that high up in the air cumulatively. But he's in the air. Brayshaw is still coming at him, and as he's coming down, I don't know what you could possibly do to did he turn into him? Did he try to protect himself, or was he trying to injure Brayshaw? I don't know what's in his heart.
Let's go back. Now, this is nothing against any player. And as you know, things are changing. We have to accept things are changing because of CTE. CTE and the lawsuits coming, it is changing. You have to accept that.
Right.
Whether it's right or wrong, that is the guts of it all. Now, when you said, when I played and even now, if you injure a player within the rules, you should be, and you are congratulated by every one of your teammates. That is the aim of the game. But it's got to be within the rules. You don't want dirty hits, and that's always the way it's been. Now, this is crucial. I played with certain defenders and on-ball players that really knew how to do a good hip and shoulder. I think that I've said this before.
Mm-hmm.
You would run flat out and you would put the shoulder into their shoulder. You couldn't hit their head. You still weren't allowed to hit their head back then.
Right.
But you could clean up a player properly and hurt them, and that was part of the rules, and everyone loved it. But you had to be a certain type of player that could do that. Now, I don't want to talk about myself playing, but I think I have to here. I was a quick player. I went hard at the ball. I was under the pack. I had concussions. So I was kind of like a gutsy type rover centerman that went in hard at the ball, got the ball, and then sprint. So I could tackle good, but I was no good at hip and shouldering players. It was an art form that I didn't see the time was worth it for me to learn it because I didn't need it that often. Now, Darren Clem, who I played with at Woodville, was a brilliant rover centerman that knew how to hip and shoulder. Malcolm McGrath, who I played with at Gawler South, and he played at Centrals. Incredible hip and shoulder guy. Now, these defenders, that's part of their game. And that's what Maynard is, not dissing him. He's a tough defender that knows how to clean up someone. Okay, now I'll get back to you and then I'll finish it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. He is a hard-nosed player. And again, that's something that he's been doing. And he's late 20s, I believe. So, I mean, he's been doing that or been taught to do that for close to 2 decades now. That's not something that you're going to be able to necessarily wean him off of. That's kind of into his psyche for, his
Yes,
playing days.
yes,
It's not going to be
yes,
something that
yes,
goes away.
yes. Well, it's going to have to. And real quick, I'll mention, and you'll know this, before I finish off to my conclusion, remember James Harrison, the tough, dirty Steelers defender?
When
they started to change the rules in the NFL because of CTV, the guy just didn't get it. He wouldn't change. He said there's no way he's going to change. Well, eventually he realized he had to.
Yeah.
And these defenders that use their hip and shoulder in towards the head, they're going to have to change. And you won't see this decision happen again. Now, are you ready for my conclusion?
No, let's wait 5 minutes. Yes, of course I'm ready for it.
All right. Now, I've said all this. Certain type of defenders know how to use that hip and shoulder, and that's what Maynard did. His thought instantly was to put his shoulder into Brayshaw to protect himself and possibly hurt Brayshaw, right? Now, me as a Rover centerman that didn't know how to hip and shoulder properly because I always ran off or tackled, right? And probably, I'm going to say 7 out of 10 players would be, I believe, do what I would have done. I believe 3 out of 10 defenders would have done what Maynard would have done. But I believe 7 out of 10 other Aussie footy players would have had their hands in the air. Instead of putting their shoulder in at that split second, they would have used their hands and arms to brace themselves onto Brayshaw.
Okay,
their hands would have ended up on his shoulder or his head or into his side or somewhere like that. Now, for that reason, 7 out of 10 players would have not used their shoulder and got him in the head. So for that reason, I am very strong with Glenn Quartermain, etc., that he should have been suspended, and no one else has said exactly what I said in regards to the type of player that you are, in regards to how you would have landed on Brayshaw. I'm done now.
I like that. I like that. So if he gets airborne like that, and let's just say because he had his arms up. If he kept his arms up, kind of like a what we see defensive linemen do when they're trying to maybe bat down a pass, and nowadays, they'll get penalized for making contact with the quarterback's head and wrinkling his skirt, that sort of thing that happens nowadays, when you tackle quarterbacks anymore. But if he had come down with his full body weight on him, probably the worst thing that comes out of that, maybe Brayshaw ends up still getting a concussion, but
probably not. But I believe it was his shoulder.
Yeah.
His shoulder was the reason, I believe, for the concussion. If he came down, let's say his chest hit Brayshaw's head, probably not a concussion. I believe it was his action of his shoulder into his head was the only reason. I might be wrong. Brayshaw's got a bit of a soft head. That's not against him. That's a fact. No, that's a fact, Craig.
No, I know. I know. I just didn't expect to hear it worded that way. But
no, but it's true. Right. Some people have got softer heads, other people haven't, right?
But if he came down with with his body weight, maybe came down with his chest, that ended up, landing on Brayshaw to where Brayshaw, banged his head on the turf, he could have possibly still been concussed, but that would have been an action that might have taken, the MRO or the tribunal and said he did not, turn the shoulder into him right there. So there may not have been any need for negotiation there, but but at that point in time, that's where you have to think, in that split second, because we can stop things and look at it, frame by frame by frame, but unfortunately that's not how life works. So, yes, he could be facing consequences for things, but if he's coming down like that, he may not end up getting suspended for that, but again, I don't know. In that quick a time, I don't, maybe he knew exactly what he was doing. I guess, the best thing we could do is, hook him up to a lie detector.
No, hang on. No, it's not. This is not against Maynard. That's the type of player that he is.
Right.
They have to change. And like I said, I believe 3 out of 10 approximately players would have done the shoulder like that. But that said, if his whole body weight, let's say his chest and his whole body weight did land on top of Brayshaw and Brayshaw's head hit the ground, absolutely he could have been concussed. If that happened, I believe that that Maynard would not have had to answer to the AFL at all. But if he used his hands instead of his shoulder to push into his shoulder or his chest or even his face, I believe he would not have probably got concussed. So that is why I believe he should have been suspended.
Well, that makes complete sense. That makes complete sense.
Thank you. I've thought a lot about this. I thought of a situation that if I was that player, and I know for a fact I would not have used my shoulder.
Yeah, and I appreciate you not laughing at me when I said that I would have had to have jumped 30 times to cumulatively get as high in the air as Braden Maynard did one time. I'm glad you did not laugh at me when I said that, because it was probably closer to 50 times. Yeah. Because I could actually, in my vertical, I can actually get 2 sheets of paper underneath there, folded.
Yeah.
So,
but we should move on. But one more thing. I mean, wasn't it crazy that is it Michael Christensen, the guy that decided that it shouldn't be investigated? Oh, he's a former Collingwood player. And then the new lady, whatever her name is, she's the one that overruled Christensen. So wow, what a big story!
It is. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Oh, okay. I'm nothing but a conspiracy theorist. I really am. So yeah, it's I don't know. So would it have been, because I know there's a lot of people that are upset that he did not get suspended at all. I understand that. It did not get the 3 games. Would a compromised suspension, if you will, I guess this is kind of an innocence or guilt kind of thing here. Would 1 week or 2 weeks have been acceptable for folks?
Yeah, I think they would have. If Collingwood lost, they would have appealed it, and he would have initially got 2 or 3, and then I reckon they would have got back to 1, and I would have been happy with that.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, it's there's a couple of other things going on that we've got. The one, I guess, big news item, it sounds like, that the services of Brodie Grundy were being bandied about by both Port Adelaide and Sydney. And it sounds like it's now going to be Sydney or bust for him. And it's amazing how somebody who has been as talented a ruck as he has been and I don't want to say he's fallen on hard times, but, Melbourne tried to recreate, Luke Jackson with Brodie Grundy, and I guess it just isn't going to work out for them. And they certainly have a ruck opening at the SCG with Ruck Jesus, Tom Hickey retiring. So it's not a bad spot for him to go. I don't think that's a nice quality young side there that I think is going to be an up and coming club here in the coming days or coming years, I should say.
Yeah, well, I don't want any good players to go to Port Adelaide, obviously. But
no, I know you don't.
Whatever. But yeah, couple of big games this weekend. You want to get onto them?
Absolutely, man. We've got to do that. So we've got the Melbourne Demons hosting the Carlton Blues at the MCG, of course, and that's a 5:50 a.m. start here, 3:50 your time, and I know you'll be up for that.
What? Still awake?
No, you'll get up then. You're going to set your clock for 3:45 and have the coffee. Have your tea made and be ready to go. So we're gonna live stream it.
Not a chance.
I know. But looking at the ins and outs for Melbourne, Michael Hibbert's been omitted. Jacob Van Ruin suspended, and that's another thing. And I want to touch on here real quickly. Ruin had that little elbow that just in the great grand scheme of things was that a more dastardly act than Maynard's, and he got suspended for it.
Well, it's a bit, Jay, as they say, but yeah, that one was clear cut in the rules.
Yeah,
see, that's the trouble with the Maynard one. It's not clear cut in the current rules.
That's true. Yeah, Bailey Laurie is a sub. Brayshaw is, of course, out with the concussion. James Jordan, Charlie Spargo, and Adam Tomlinson in. Harry Mackay injured for Carlton, Jack Martin suspended, and Matthew Kennedy back in. So what are you thinking on this one? Because this is yeah, all I'm going to say to start out with here is Melbourne going to actually be able to score some goals. I don't know if they can do that.
We got two ripper games, haven't we? I've kind of stuck with my initial pick on this one. I think we do all get sucked into a little bit about the teams below in the last 4 of the 8. They weren't as good as those top 4 teams throughout the year. I think the top 4 were quite a bit better. But that said, Blues are in form and D's are struggling up forward. They maybe could have beaten Collingwood. So for that reason, I still think the D's are the better team, even though the Blues are playing very well. D's are favoured by 6.5 points. Initially, I was going to say Blues to cover that, but no, I think D's will win, and probably by more than 6.5. But it really could be very close.
Yeah.
It could go either way. D's finals experience will count, absolutely. But the Blues had a win last week, so it really could go either way. I'll take the D's to win.
Well, and I wasn't trying to be hyperbolic there by asking whether or not Melbourne can kick goals, because I honestly don't know if they can. I mean, it's you've got Kazi Pickett's kind of disappeared a little bit. You've got Bailey Fritsch. Petrarca's going to have to definitely put a couple on the scoreboard for them, because they're really going to scuffle, I think, putting points on the board. I mean, this could be a game that that could really be a low scoring competition, quite frankly. I would think that I don't know. I'm going with Carlton to win this one. Quite frankly, I think it's going to be a pretty, I don't know if me, I usually go with, fairly narrow margins. I just have the feeling Carlton's going to win this one by like 3 goals.
Wow.
I don't know why I'm thinking that. I just think that there have been distractions with the D's, with the Brayshaw situation and Van Ruin out. I mean, there's one of your goal kickers. Bailey Fritsch has really scuffled the last couple of weeks. He's he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn if you had one foot nailed to it right at this point in time. Kind of like Todd Marshall, who we're going to talk about in a minute. Todd Marshall looked terrible last week up in Brisbane, but I think the experience thing you mentioned, could definitely pay off for them. And let's be honest, if Stephen May shuts down Charlie Curnow, then all bets are off, because Harry Mackay is not there to replace him or to fill in. But I just have this. I don't know why I'm thinking Carlton, because they've been playing such inspired footy towards the end of the season, whereas Melbourne had been scuffling a little bit, and with the injuries and the suspensions they have right now, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to overcome them, but I'm just going with Carlton win this one by a few goals, and I could be absolutely wrong. And I have to give a shout out to Mr. Gallus there, who has worn his Blues jumper all week since the last game. Michael Gallus has worn his jumper. He's just taken it into the shower with him and showered with the jumper on over the last week. Has not taken it off.
Stinky.
Yeah, so that's being a fan right there. I mean, he actually posted some pictures, carefully edited, of him in the shower with his jumper on, getting cleaned up for the game. So Michael, I hope that things work out for you. Peps, it's not what you want to hear. I know that. So yeah, I don't know why I think Carlton, but that's who I'm going with. And then we go to.
Well,
go ahead.
Hang on. Well, you might be right, because I think it's probably a good thing that Harry Mackay, the yippity yips guy that can't kick a goal, I think maybe that's a good thing. He could be out. I hope he gets his form back next year, of course. But hey, check this out. I heard this week. So since 2014, with the bye before the finals, 8 teams in 9 years have gone out in straight sets. So will it be the D's again, or the Port Adelaide Power, or both? Who knows?
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, because winner of this game, if I'm not mistaken, goes to Brisbane. I think.
Yes.
Yeah, winner of this game goes to Brisbane, and winner Port and GWS goes to Collingwood. So
Yes.
yeah, so that's going to be. Whew. I mean, we still got the potential for a really, really great grand final, except for the musical choice that they have there with Kiss, which I think is I like Kiss, but they have been pre-recording a lot of their music and their vocal tracks during their live performances. So they've been playing a lot of pre-recorded stuff at their concerts, and they've openly admitted it.
Mate,
So
I'll tell you
I worry about this ending up being an awful lot like a Meatloaf situation all over again, where Gene Simmons is going to tell the crowd to get stuffed if things don't go well.
Mate, I'll tell you a secret. No one really gives a shit too much about the entertainment.
Oh no, I don't disagree with you.
Starting to, because people are starting to get too influenced by America down there with the Super Bowl halftime show. No one really cares, to be honest.
Trust me, I agree with you. To me, I would be as if I was at a Super Bowl, which I'm never going to get to one. But if I was there, halftime, I'm off using the bathroom anyway. But I would love to see them instead of having trying to force together musical acts that have no business being on the same stage together. Bring out and have maybe the top 3 college marching bands come out and play their halftime shows instead. To me that's more football than Beyonce and Taylor Swift and a hologram of Prince and Freddie Mercury's left big toenail coming there and bouncing around on a drum head while they're playing Fat Bottom Girls or whatever the hell they're doing at halftime. It's just I don't watch the halftime shows. I'm certainly not the target audience because I could care less about it. But the only reason I brought it up is because to this day, Meatloaf still gets talked about.
Yeah, he's terrible.
Well, he's dead, so he's not going to get any better. But
I'm a big fan. I love his music.
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, he was awful then.
Right,
but, the guy, what was it, Robbie Robertson last year? Yeah. So we got
Robbie Williams. They're going on as if he's the greatest thing. Whatever. I could care less, to be honest.
I know, but
although I like the girl. The girl was great.
All right, so we got Port Adelaide hosting GWS at 3:40 a.m. your time on Saturday morning, and I know you'll be up for that one too. But Daniel Lloyd's playing game 100. Xavier O'Halloran's been omitted. Nick Haynes is a sub. Stephen Canelio back in for the Giants. Charlie Dixon back in for Port Adelaide. Dylan Williams omitted. And kind of a shocking omission, Jeremy Finlayson's been dropped. But
yeah, well, I'll make a promise to you. If the games are close, when I wake up at 6 a.m., I'll get up and watch the last quarter. There you go.
Well, I mean, I will watch I'll be up for the start of the game tomorrow, and I'll watch like the first half of it at home before I go to school, and I'll go in at halftime because I have a meeting with my Model United Nation kids at 7:15 tomorrow. So I'll see part of the game in the morning, and then I've got meetings all day. So I'll watch the second half of the game tomorrow night when I get home. And then I'll probably get up about 5:15 on Saturday morning to watch Port and GWS because I don't have anything else going on the rest of the day on Saturday. So, Finlayson, I think he is just he got dropped because of the great game that Ollie Lord had last week, kicking 4 goals. And it's but I wonder, who's going to step into the ruck to cover the ruck when Scotty Lysette needs a break. I mean, they're going to send Charlie Dixon out there, and he's had so many different foot problems. Do you want him, traversing the ground all over the place trying to be your pinch hitter at ruck?
Yeah, well, I think it's a bad decision putting Finlayson out because of the suspect fitness of Marshall and definitely McKenzie. You could throw Finlayson back in defense and Charlie Dixon. That's 3 key players all underdone and injured. And you got Taylor playing a great defender for the Giants. Mate, Port are favoured by 8.5. Now, my original pick in bets was Giants to cover that 8.5. Well, I've changed my mind. I am going to go straight out and say the Giants are going to win because they are the informed team. And I'm extremely worried about those 3 players with their fitness and injuries. And also the younger Port Adelaide midfield, very good players. But I think the experience of the Giants and the team bonding might get them over the hump. Tough Adelaide with that crazy crowd. I'm going to go Giants to win and cover, and I hope I'm right because I don't want to see Port Adelaide win.
No, I know you don't. I know you don't. But I went with the Giants on this one as well. Yeah,
Wow.
I think to me, I'm trying, and I guess I need to sit down and look at like the photographs, the headshots of all of the Giants players, because I'm really curious about something. Because I want to know which one looks the most like Mel Gibson, because I want to know who the Road Warrior is going to be.
Oh,
okay,
mate.
I want to know who the Road Warriors are going to be here, because if they're going to make the grand final, they're going to go from the MCG to the Adelaide Oval to the MCG to staying at the MCG. Now, again, I'm not going to be so bold as to say they're going to win the prelim. I'm not going to do that as of yet, but I went with them to win this as well. So I just I just think that the Giants are I think they're a tougher side right now, quite frankly. I just think that they've really taken on the persona of not only their captain Toby Green, but I also think that they've taken on the persona of Adam Kingsley. I mean, because he looks like the kind of guy that that when the games are done, that he goes outside and will just lift up the corner of the stadium to allow all the debris that's on the ground to kind of matriculate to one spot, so he can so they can clean up more easily. I mean, the guy looks like he bench presses New Zealand.
Yeah, mate. Are you got anyone else out there? Check out my Facebook, Myk Aussie. I reposted a video that the Giants did. It was unbelievable. It was like razzing up the Adelaide Crows fans to get on board with the Giants. And it was really interesting because it was razzing up Port Adelaide, and normally the AFL club videos are pretty conservative.
The Giants are really good. Whoever does their social media does a great job with theirs.
Okay.
Yeah, they do a great job. And I'm trying to see who looks like they could be Mad Max here. And I don't see anybody on the Giants list that could possibly fit into that. But I guess you'd have to put Toby Green in that position. Quite frankly, if you're going to do anything like that, you'd have to throw Toby Green in there as kind of the Mel Gibson character there. But yeah, so we agreed on the Giants. We disagreed on the D's and the Blues.
How'd you go last week?
Oh, I don't think I did. I don't think I did terribly well.
I'll tell you.
Oh, how did I do? Well, I know I took Port Adelaide to win, so I got that one wrong. I think I took Melbourne to win.
I'm only razzing you up because I do the picks on the sports grid. Well,
right,
I don't actually bet much. I don't bet much, but I just do it for a challenge.
Yeah.
So I raised up the boys on sports grid. I went 7-1. I went 4-0 win money line, and I went 3-1 on the plus minus. So the only one I got wrong was I thought Port Adelaide would cover the spread, but they didn't. Yeah. So I kind of bragged a little bit to the sports grid guys.
I went with the D's. I got Carlton right. I went with the D's. I went with the Giants. I went with Carlton, and I went with Port Adelaide. So I went 2-2. So
yep,
I got half of them right. So
you might beat me.
Well, and that's the thing is that if I go 2 for 4 as a Major League Baseball player, guess what? They're gonna build a wing at the Hall of Fame with my name on it if I go 2 for 4 every game, because I'm gonna be a Hall of Famer and I'll be the best hitter of all time. But yeah, so I had a question for you about cricket here while I have you, because as I told you off air, I've been watching a ton of the IPL games. They've already dropped last season's Big Bash League off of Willow TV, so I can't go back and watch any of those. But I've been watching all of the international T20s. So New Zealand in the UAE, and Pakistan and India in Ireland, and Australia playing against England and also against South Africa, that sort of thing. But now they're playing what they're calling the one-day internationals, which I guess was technically what you would call a T50. Where they're playing with 50 over. So my question for you, and I know there's 11 players on the side for a club. Now they don't vary that number during the T50s. They still have 11, do they not?
Correct.
Okay, so because you're not going to have a different number of players out, on the ground, playing defensively. So my question is, because I've watched in the T20 where teams have gotten down to where they had, some teams they'll only get through like their first like 6 batters. And they'll use up all the bowling will be done, and they'll score all their runs with their first 6 batters, so the other ones don't bat. But I've seen some games where they've gotten down to like the 10th and 11th batter, who are not necessarily their strongest batters. What happens because I don't know the answer to this, and I do have my Cricket for Dummies book, but I've not had a chance to dive into it yet. But in a T50 game, if a team that's bowling gets all 11 wickets for those 11 batters, and let's say the 30th over, is that team just done batting for them, and the other team comes up to bat?
That's it. That's
okay.
It.
Okay.
They're done. That's the game. Get them all out. Yeah.
So it's basically it's the same as the T20 then. So it could end up getting over a little more quickly because I was going to go. I watched the highlights of the first ODI between England and Australia, which Australia won, and but they won by three wickets. But I was going to watch the entire replay of all of the bowls, each team batting the whole time. And I went to start it, and it was like 3.5 hours for one team to bat. And I was like, I don't have that kind of time right now to sit down and watch that. So it's not quite test cricket there, but it gets a little close to it for me there. So the T2,
I like the T50, and the reason you're seeing the T50 now is because the World Cup in India, as we spoke, is coming up next month. So that's why they're now gearing up for the T50. I love the T50.
Now, is the World Cup a T50 or a T20 format?
Well, this is the T50 World Cup. The T20 World Cup is something new. But like I said last week, the T50 World Cup has been around, probably maybe 40 years or something like that.
Okay.
And going back, the key is you got to score quickly, but you don't want to score too quickly and lose all your wickets and not use up your 50 overs. So that's the key. You got to try and judge the wicket and the bowlers and the batters. So the guys going in first got to score fairly quick. But if you lose 4 or 5 wickets straight away, then you're in trouble, right?
Oh, absolutely, you are. Yeah, and I've seen that happen. I saw one where, I think it was Australia's top batter that England had thrown. It was only the second ball bowled, and they got him out on the second ball bowled. So he was, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was during the T50. So, and again, like I said, I've just become so enamored with the game, and it's just been so much fun to watch. And they definitely have a new fan of the game, and I'm going to be watching it an awful lot because again, I don't watch basketball, I don't watch hockey, I don't watch soccer other than the teams at the school where I work. I'll watch them play, but again, I felt bad about our boys and girls teams played last night, and they won, but the boys won 11-0 and the girls won 12-0. This is soccer. It was ugly. And I sent a text message to our girls coach after the game, and I said, you realize that, Michael Vick went to prison for doing things like that to their sporting opponents. He just laughed. He said, I told because there were a couple of girls that ended up scoring goals that he had kind of told them to, just pull back and just pass the ball back and forth and let's run the clock out. But a couple of girls decided they wanted to get a goal for themselves. So he wasn't necessarily really thrilled about that. So,
well, you need to watch episode 19 of Badminton Cricket TV at about the 2.5 minute mark, because you get a mention in my commentary.
Oh, I have not watched it yet. I've been.
Are we doing the slang stuff? We doing the Aussie slang?
We are for sure. Yeah. So, did we? You said you wanted to talk about something else that you mentioned last week. Do you want to hold that off until the end? Do you want that to be what you close with?
Oh, you mean the football up here? No, we can
Yes.
talk it now.
Okay, so you called out a local footy team last week on the episode, and you got a little bit of a response from them. Do you care to have a rebuttal?
A little bit of a response. I got a crazy great response because we are, if you know Canada at all, we are Edmonton, 3 hours north of Calgary. Then across to the west is British Columbia. So Calgary is the closest Aussie football team that we play against twice or three times a year.
Uh-huh.
We go down there. Now, I'm still involved somewhat. I have been umpiring and then involved. We go down to their Stampede Cup in July every year, and then they come up here to the Capital Cup, our one big event of the year.
Right.
Well, last year they were too lazy to show up. And again this year they didn't show up for some pathetic, weak reasons, and they got no excuses. So for 2 years in a row, let's say you're a young lad that just joined Edmonton football and you say, oh, yeah, I'll spend a few $100s and go down and play in Calgary, knowing that you get the return favour that they come up here, so you get another 18-a-side game. Well, they just don't show up. So I called them out on it, and then I had a discussion with a high-level person at AFL Canada, and I did not weaken at all. I went hard, and I said, this is pathetic. And he said, well, come on, Myk, you got to promote the game. Don't be negative. I said, well, it needs to be called out for the exact reason of guys in Edmonton might quit because they're not getting the football they were promised. And then today on Facebook, they basically admitted they're in the wrong with a comedy image. And it said reasons why we don't go to Edmonton. And Myk Aussie, my name was one of those reasons. Yes. And a few others. So they kind of admitted they were in the wrong. But there you go. Now, I want to be positive. Hang on. I want to be positive, but you got to call out people that are lazy and not committed and take advantage and diss the city of Edmonton. So I was very upset, mate. Very upset. I mean, I got to be positive.
Looking at it from the outside, again, I don't know. I don't understand all of the restaurant or all of the references, I should say. But one of them said, got distracted by WEM. I don't know what WEM is.
I don't know either.
Okay. But, they said the 3:30 sunsets, which I thought was kind of funny. But Mom said no. But what was really interesting is that because it shows like an arm, like a cartoon arm walking across, like using the two fingers for legs. And the way they have it placed there. And, if you follow Myk on Instagram or you follow the Calgary Kangaroos on Instagram, it's on there. It looks like the one leg is getting ready to kick your name on that little chart, or on all those file folders, because your name is written on one of the tabs of the file folders. It looks like it's getting ready to knock your name off the file folder there. So
they're not happy because I called them out.
No, I know you did. I know you did. Yeah, I know you did. And it's and I did earlier in the episode as well. So that's going to make it even more fun. So, yep. So,
let's hang on. What they need, I'm going to tell the boys next year. What they need to do is schedule Calgary here in June. And if Calgary don't come, well, then we don't go to theirs in July. That would be my solution, because otherwise it might happen again, and then they'll laugh and put shit on us again. Well, I hope it's enough for them to realise that they're being called out and they got to get their act together, and no excuse is warranted, because this event was organised 3 to 6 months ago. It was planned.
Yeah. Well,
anyway, I've had enough. I've got to be positive, but I've got to call them out too, mate. I've got to call them out.
And I want to share something that's a little closer to home for me. Our boys soccer team, our coach for our boys soccer team is English. Great guy, does a phenomenal job with the club. They play really well. They've been very successful. The person that he replaced, now that person got dismissed by a couple of athletic directors ago for some reason. Now he's coaching at a nearby school, and we played them a couple of weeks ago. And our teams will generally do like a team feed for the other club. So when they get done playing, they'll have a spread of food for them to come in and eat, because they've got to wait to take the bus back to their school. So they're going to be there for another 2 hours. So they want to feed them. Their coach decided, since he's so pissed off at our school because he got dismissed from our school, he just told the boys to go get back on the bus. We're going to go back now, and then the bus will come back and get our girls. So it's like our team had wasted all this money on this team feed. So I told our coach, I said, you know what? Next year, you play them at their place. So bring the team feed to them, and after you beat them next year, just go ahead and tell them, okay, game's over. Go ahead and fucking leave your own stadium now, you asshole. Yeah. There's the food. Go ahead and leave your own stadium. We'll just sit here and eat. He liked that idea. So we'll see if that happens. But yeah, so you mentioned, MykAussie.tv, but we got to talk about the 5 terms for this week. Okay. So, and I've got a bit of
just one thing, just as you were talking then, I saw a text come through to me, and it was from Tristan, who my mate here that was the founder of the Edmonton football team here many years ago. And he sent an image, and I bet you that's that image that you just saw. I bet you just texted it to me.
I bet he did. So here we go. Here are our 5 terms for this week. Okay. And one of them, the 5th term, I am going to, I'll hold off on it. I won't say it right now because I don't want to spoil it. Okay. The first term, the back o bork, the back o apostrophe bork, Bourke, the back o bork.
Yeah. Back of bork. There's a couple of similar sayings, I believe. Back of bork is like way out in the outback. Yep. I believe.
Yep. An extremely remote place. Yes, exactly.
Yep.
Okay. So you're 1 for 1 today.
Yeah.
What is a jumbuck? Jumbuck. A jumbuck.
Oh. What's the saying? It's on the tip of your tongue, or in other words, you lost some brain cells and you should know it.
Well, you said you had some concussions.
Yeah, I have, mate. I have had a few. Don't worry about that. I wore a helmet for a while in Aussie footy, but people hit you more, so it wasn't worth it. Jumbuck. I got a feeling it's something like is it some sort of kangaroo? No, that's not right.
No, there's no P in it. There's no P in it.
No, jumbuck. Is it a shearing term?
Kind of. It's a slang for sheep, and it is most commonly referenced or referred to or remembered from the song Waltzing Matilda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I was clear. I knew I'd heard it. So it's a term for a sheep. Yep. All right. Give me half a point for that or no?
You said shearing, so I'll give you a half a point there. I'll shear off a half a point.
All right.
Okay, so what is a bush telly? What's a bush telly?
A bush telly would be a telly. A telly is short for television.
Right. So what's a bush telly?
Might be some form of TV you used to watch out in the bush that you got bad reception for. Is that something like
in a way, yes. In an abstract sort of way, it's a slang name for a campfire.
Oh well, no, I'm wrong there.
Well, yeah,
no, I'm wrong there.
Yep. So it's a slang name for a campfire. Now,
okay, cool.
What is a nong? Nong.
A nong?
Is
it similar to a knob, like a wanker, a knobhead?
Like a stupid or incompetent person, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go, got that one.
Okay, now here's the last one. Here's the last one. And so you've got what? You got I'm giving you 3 out of 4 points because I'm giving you half a point for the bush telly. Okay? I'm giving you a half point for that one. If you're listening and you want to take away that half point from Myk, by all means, tag both of us on social media and let us know if he gets to keep that half point. The last one here.
I don't think I deserve half point.
The last one is Bevan. Bevan.
Bevan?
Bevan.
Bevan's just the person's name.
I know it is.
Bevan.
I know it is, but it had a slang term. It had slang term in it.
Buffet? No, I don't know. Bevan, never heard of it.
Okay.
Other than someone's proper name.
Well, It said when I looked it up, it said a stupid or unsophisticated person. Now, here's the thing. I am going to be that Yank, okay? Because, they're and I don't think I've ever been this person before, other than, when I keep saying, why can't the Cats ever play, like the Tigers at home or the Magpies at home, or get a home final? I've never been that Yank that's tried to project Yankism on the people listening to the podcast in Australia. I've never been that bold, but here's the thing. I'm sorry, Australians, but since I looked up Bevan and it said that it was a stupid or unsophisticated person, I am going to forbid anyone from using that term in that way, because I know two people named Bevan. I know Bevan Jones from Legends of Bevo, and I know Dan Bevan, who I interviewed last week for my podcast on episode 286. And you should check out that episode. He's just written a new screenplay. Both of them are absolutely brilliant men. So I am going to unilaterally ban the Australian population from using the word Bevan, if you ever actually have used it, to describe someone as a stupid or unsophisticated person. So no longer can you use that word. It's done, kaput, finito, finished. Call him a nong instead. Call him a nong instead, okay? Or a knobhead.
Okay.
Or just a fuckwit if you want to. Just call him a fuckwit if you want to do that.
when you go to Australia, someone might call you a seppo. You know what a seppo is?
How do you spell that? SEPO?
Yeah.
I have no clue what that is.
Okay, well, not you, of course, but too many American guys go to Australia and they make a big deal of things and, oh, yeah, we're the greatest and so forth, right?
Uh-huh.
So a seppo is short for a septic tank. You know what a septic
tank
yes,
is? I do. Yes. They're full of shit.
Yeah, and yes. A septic tank, a septic tank sounds like a yank.
Yes, that's right? True. Yes, it does. Yes.
So if a seppo is an Aussie word for a yank that's full of shit, otherwise someone down there just making a big deal and talking shit.
Right.
So
well,
if someone calls you a seppo, no one will call you a seppo because you're not full of shit and you're not a big deal type guy. I'm
hoping
get down there, make a big deal of everything, right?
I am hoping that I have been watching enough, Australian, Australian television and such, because the interview that I did that came out this past Monday with Dan Bevan and his writing partner, his last name is Van de Ven. His name's Jack Van de Ven. They wrote a new screenplay about a movie about an American who did not, was on his way to the NBA. Mason Cox was not on his way to the NBA. He played college basketball, was not a great player. He just happened to be tall. Became a pretty okay footy player. But this, I guess, was a kid who was a great. Their storyline is dad was a Hall of Famer in the NFL. Kid was a decent NBA prospect. Didn't make it. Went to try out and then works his way up through local footy to try to make it to the VFL, the AFL, that sort of thing. And it's the storyline that they've written so far. They got the screenplay done and they gave me the synopsis for it, and it's a really neat story. And they were, we talked about, they were talking about the different legal system and such from it. And I referenced, I referenced a lot of different pop culture, a lot of different Australian television shows that I've watched, because I said in the interview, I said, all I know about the law in Australia is what I learned from watching the TV show Rake. That's the only thing I know, and I said, and I absolutely would not want to be that guy, because, while it's a hilarious show, that guy's life was a complete wreck, an absolute disaster. But but that's kind of the reaction that they had there. So, trust me, I love, the Australian shows that I watch. So I would, I would never be a sapo or a seppo. Okay. I would never be a seppo as far as that goes.
I'm gonna go help a lady with a baby.
Okay, so tell me where we can find your work before you go there, sir.
That's funny. MyKAussie.tv/AFL and podcast. I got your podcast up there, and I mentioned how I got your football jersey from the Waratahs, but there's one that I don't want. I put that in the notes, and of course Friday night. Now at a later time at about 8 or 9 o'clock Pacific. So Gabe's on later now. You can find
Wow.
that out on my Twitter on New York Sports Grid TV. So we do the AFL picks on there and NFL as well.
Outstanding. Well, Myk, I hope you have a fantastic weekend and enjoy the footy. It should be a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, and I'll leave you on this note. I hope Port Adelaide go out in straight sets, and then all the Port fans are arguing whether they should have kept Kenny Hinkley or not. See you later, man.
There you go. Cheers. Cheers. All right, Myk. Hey, man, thanks for hopping on again this week. Folks, there are our discussions on the two games in the semis this week. It's going to be one heck of a weekend. And, of course, Brisbane and Collingwood are just sitting back, relaxing, training, getting ready to host whomever it is that they plan on knocking off, and then facing one another in the grand final here pretty soon. I'm not saying that that's going to be what happens, however. You'll have to let us know where you think we're right and where we're wrong. I appreciate you, entertaining my issues with cricket and how I'm beginning to fall in love with this game as well. I'm really, really enjoying what I'm seeing from that game, and I can't wait to learn more and more about it. Look out for one another. Check up on your friends. Make sure they're okay. Give them a call. If you need to talk to somebody, please reach out. Let them know you need to talk to them. There are numbers in my show notes of every single episode of the podcast. If you need to talk to somebody, please, if you don't have those numbers, they are there. Please reach out to someone, talk to them, and let them know that you need to talk. Okay? Do not try to have a permanent solution to a temporary problem, folks, okay? Remember, you can find everything related to the podcast over at my website at yankonthefooty.com. I hope you'll subscribe to the mailing list there. If you want to help out the podcast, you can do that by clicking on that Buy Me a Coffee button. Any money that comes in for that goes to help keep the lights on for the podcast, although I do hope to be able to use some of that for my trip next footy season to Australia. I'm planning on making that trip in hopefully June of 2024 is the plan right now. I'm, of course, waiting on the fixture to come out so I have an idea of when I can get the most bang for my buck. Because I've had a lot of people that have said over the years as I've been doing the podcast and I've started following the game, hey, whenever you're here, I want to take you to a game. Well, they might be getting the opportunity to do that right now. And I may actually have to become not only an international member, so I have the Watch AFL app for the Cats, but I may also have to then get a separate membership, so I'll be able to get actual tickets to GMBHA Stadium for hopefully a game or two if they get to play back-to-back home games at that point in time, because I would love to go see them play 2 games in a row. And I'm going to then also, with myself being a podcaster, work towards getting some media credentials so I can hopefully do some interviews with some people. And that's once I figure out the dates, that's when I will start laying the groundwork for those kinds of things, to start setting up times and hopefully opportunities to reach out to different clubs when I'm in Victoria. And again, I'm hoping to make the trek. Right now, I'm thinking I want to make the trek over to Adelaide, hopefully to catch the Cats, or at least a game over at the Adelaide Oval as well, whether it be the Cats or not. I would love it to be the Cats, but if it's not, then so be it. But I'd love to see a game there as well, and just see the countryside along the southern coast of Australia, along the coast of SA. And I've looked at a lot of photographs. I've been reading some guidebooks and such, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. I'm not much of a wine drinker, but I know that it's wine country. If you are looking for a sticker for the podcast, of course, one, you can go to my Redbubble store page. Maybe you pick up a T-shirt if you want to, or a shower curtain. Hey, if you want to just deck out your bathroom in all things the Yank on the Footy, you can pick up a shower curtain if you really wanted to do that. My wife would kill me if I bought one of those. But if you want one of those stickers even sooner, well, I just picked up 7 or 8 new stickers for the podcast myself, and I've just got them sitting here in my desk drawer waiting for somebody to come along and leave me a great review on the website or on Apple Podcasts, and then let me know about it and send me their address so I can thank them by dropping one of those stickers in the mail. I've got one that I need to send out. A gentleman reached out to me about a week and a half ago. I've not sent that one out yet. It's right here in my hand, ready to go. Can't wait to drop that one out to him. But if you'd like to do that and leave a review for the podcast, you can do that. Then drop me a note by email to yankonthefooty@gmail.com or on my website saying, hey, I left you this review and I'll get one out in the post to you as soon as I can. Although I have to say it's a little difficult to get to the post office in my town right now because the streets all over the city of Sandusky where I live are torn up. The main street in town, one whole side of the street is pretty much gone right now. They've basically dug it up. They're putting in new sewer lines and that sort of thing. No sepos, though. It's going to drain to a facility that will treat the water. Not going to be putting it into a septic tank. So we don't have to stay with that theme. But folks, I do appreciate all the kind words. I do hope you'll share the episode with your family and friends. And until next time, may your dribble kick never hit the post. I will catch you later. This has been episode 287 of the Yank and the Footy. Thanks for listening. I hope you'll share the podcast with your friends and family. And until next time, cheers.